I'm going to call this meeting to order. If we could all please rise, and we will begin with our invocation. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the character and courage of those who died in service of our country. They defended our nation, they liberated the oppressed, they served the cause of peace. And all who have known the loss and sadness of war, whether recently or long ago, can know this: the person they love and miss is honored. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, will you call the roll, please?
Johnson?
Hello?
Johnson?
Yes, I am here.
Crawford? Here. Klaus?
Here.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Kropa? Here. Lathrop?
Yes.
Maxbauer?
Here. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of May 18th. Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, they stand approved. This is our first opportunity for public comment. Bonnie, if you would read the rules, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Okay.
All right, at this time, is there any member of the public that would like to step forward and comment? Please.
I'm just going to time him. It's 3 minutes. I don't have my timer out, but
Okay.
we'll just watch the clock.
All right, I got it.
And I'll tell you when it's done.
I'm Dr. Current, Charlie Current, and I've been here before about the bell. And I want to say thank you for all you guys do. And however, downtown is very, very quiet, okay? It's been that way for 8 years until we restarted the bell. Occasional siren or something, but those are all healthcare things, and that's important. Occasionally bands, play, but they stop at the city noise order like at 10 p.m. and aren't starting before 7 in the morning. I mean, it's a beautiful, quiet downtown, believe it or not. It's not it's not Vegas. Until the bell rings, it rings after 10 o'clock 19 different times. I mean, starting at all night after 10 o'clock to 7 in the morning, 19 times on the half hour. I just sat out there and listened to it. Sometime go out there, maybe start your meeting and listen if you had to sit there by that bell. It's 65 decibels, very high. I gave you all those medical articles, and I've talked to some sleep doctors. That is very disruptive to people's sleep. There's 20 of us in a row, contiguous, on this side of Midtown, not the others on the further part because it gets diluted. And there are some venerable elderly citizens that talk pro-bell, but they liked it during the day. It was the board's decision to say, hey, let's run it all night long, except, I think, Dr. Johnson, which I appreciated a lot. Now, I gave you those articles. The health is, being a physician, 3 people have talked to me that they've started Ambien. Okay, that's a sleep thing to help them sleep. That's a drug. And it's a benzodiazepine. And one person says now they're addicted to it. They can't not use it. They can't get off it. And that's true of diazepam. One says they have started some antihypertensive medicine, and 2 are saying they feel more depressed. And the reason is, I've even talked to sleep physicians, this bell is not healthy to run all night long. If people want to do it, I've used noise devices in my house, I've tried earplugs, and it doesn't help. This is very rhythmic, okay? Now, if someone who said, the people who wanted the bell didn't even want it all night. They just wanted it during the day. The board decided that would be a great idea.
Please finish up.
Historically, if people want a bell, my sons will install an app on their phone, and they can have every half hour, I'll even do it for you guys, every half hour in your house, 65 decibels to ring all night long, every half hour. I'm in line with you guys politically. Smaller government, non-intrusive. This is an intrusive thing, big government pushing something else that, most of us didn't even care or want. I supported your thing on the oil because of water pollution. This is noise pollution. That's all there is to it. I lose approximately 1 or 2 hours of sleep a night, 60 hours a month. I'll just give you, that's equivalent to 40 or 60 hours a month where it's like a work hours of lost sleep. Multiply that times the 50 of us or 60 of us now that are in line, peripheral people, not the ones further in Midtown, not the lady who wanted the bell louder 3-4 blocks away because she couldn't hear it. We feel, unlistened to. That's 20,000 hours of sleep a year. So I would plead, and before, this would probably have to be taken to a different level because you have big things on your agenda. Huge debt. I talked to Mr. Menzel. I wasn't the one who really wanted to just turn it off, but he was good. I'd ask you to really use common sense. The article in the paper, you probably read it, had nothing to do with it. But before we have to push the limit on other things, I'd appreciate just doing something that would be appropriate. Follow the city noise ordinance, 10 at night to 7. People who love the bell can like it all day long. They can do an app. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Lori? You're with her? Okay.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Chris Erickson, Director of Parks and Recreation, and I'm with Lori Wells, Manager for the Senior Center Network. We are here today to present a thank you letter to all of you for the wonderful donations. We're just so happy we received donations, one for the playground from the Commissioners and one for the Senior Center. So I just wanted to read this letter, and then I'll give a copy to Bonnie for all of you.
Chris, I think it's important that you note that those were not tax dollars.
It's right in the letter.
Okay.
I'm noting. It's coming. I'm just setting it up.
Okie dokie.
Dear County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation, the Senior Center Network, thank you for your generous donations of $115 toward the Parks and Recreation Playground Fund and $115 which will be used for the community garden at the Senior Center. We are grateful and thrilled for the funds and such a wonderful show of support of Parks and the Senior Center Network's efforts to best serve our community. We understand that the contributions come directly from each of you as individuals, which makes them even more meaningful. We truly appreciate you thinking of our customers and our projects. We all make a difference together. With our best regards, my name and Lori's. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then Lori wants to.
I just wanted to
Project
make
Fresh
I just wanted to report that we had Project Fresh kickoff today. We served over 250 seniors today and distributed Project Fresh coupons to be used at the farmers markets throughout the season. And also to report that tomorrow is a national holiday at the Senior Center. It's opening day of shuffleboard season.
All right.
And we have about 40 people in the league this year. And pickleball will kick off next week with about 160 people. So summer has officially arrived at the Senior Center, so it'll be great fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? All right. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, additions, deletions to the agenda?
I make the motion that we approve the agenda.
Moved by Dr. Lathrop, supported by Commissioner Klaus to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next, consent calendar. Bonnie, it's your turn.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, Grand Traverse County Planning Commission minutes of April 19th. Number 2, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of April 26th. Number 3, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of April 29th. Approvals. Number 4, Veterans Intergovernmental Service Agreement Renewal, Benzie and Leelanau Counties. Number 5, Equalization to 2016 Tax Rate Request.
Would any member of the public like any item removed from the consent calendar? Any commissioner? Staff? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Commissioner Kropa.
Make the motion.
Moved by Commissioner Kropa. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Dr. Johnson. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have no special orders of business. We have no items removed from the consent calendar. Next, department action items. Facilities management. Who will take that? That, please.
I'll field it. This is a request from Facilities Management to purchase to replace some condensers from 1984 that are in operation at the county jail. The low bid was received from Hearst Mechanical for $127,300. That purchasing process did meet the county's procurement and purchasing guidelines, policies, and procedures. And we are asking you to approve the proposal for $127,300 and to authorize the board chair to sign that.
Is there a motion from the board?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock. Support?
I'll support.
Supported by Commissioner Kropa. Discussion.
Yeah, is that in their budget?
It is. It was budgeted this year, yes.
Cool.
Commissioner Kropa.
We had both Johnson Controls come in and do an energy efficiency rating on the county, and I believe Mr. Menzel had something done as well. We recently received an email regarding another one, and I just wanted to know how these condensers fit into our, hopefully, progress on becoming more energy efficient at the county buildings.
We are.
This is something that is part, or has taken into account those energy audits?
The energy audit is on utilities, the one that's being conducted right
Right.
now, which is looking at natural gas and electricity and ensuring that our rates are the rates that we should be receiving. And phone, yes. So that is ongoing. The one from Johnson Controls was recently provided to me, and I've been in communication with that gentleman regarding that. I believe it only looked at this facility, this government center
Oh,
itself.
no, they looked at all of the facilities in the county, and the jail was one of our primary targets in that.
For the 24/365 use.
We had a climate control issue in the jail.
Okay. I can certainly double check and make sure.
Yeah, it would, it's $127,300.
Significant.
And it's something that if we were to look into, the jail situation is up in the air right now, obviously, in its future, but we certainly don't want to have an expense like that if it's going to be going against some of the changes that we may be looking at into the budget for the 2017 year for the jail. That was my only concern when I saw it. And condensers are, that's our electrical use, and we obviously had an issue with that at the jail. I think the issue is heating more than cooling, albeit, but
Yeah.
it would be worthwhile to look at that Johnson Controls. The two major targets of that were the Civic Center building and the jail.
Be happy to take a look at it.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next, Community Corrections, the 2017 Community Corrections Annual Grant Application.
Hi, Sri Shivel, I'm the manager of Community Corrections. I'm before you every year asking for permission to get money. This is our annual grant application to the Michigan Department of Corrections. This year, it is for $269,186. It's actually an increase I'm asking them for of a little over $80,000. I was approached by my grant coordinator. There are some community corrections agencies in the state that are going to lapse funds, and so they went to about 5 agencies and asked us if we could use
More money?
more money.
I like it.
It didn't
So-
take long for her to answer either.
I'm sure not.
It didn't take long for the corrections board to approve it last week either.
No. Yeah, this has been approved by my Community Corrections Advisory Board also. One of their stipulations were that it be used to create a new initiative, not something that we're already doing. And that it be used, when I do my grant, I have to target my top 3, they're indicators of criminogenic needs in our community. So I have to target one of those top 3 with this program, and the top one is obviously substance abuse. The prosecutor has his initiative to try and tackle the problem with heroin and methamphetamine addiction in the area. So what this is going to be used is to start creating a true drug court. We have the recovery court that handles OWI second and thirds. They don't handle any type of drug crimes. So these are felony drug crimes. It's a very slim population. It's not those who are selling drugs. It's those who are addicted to them. They can even be charged with a felony property crime because they were stealing to try and support their addiction. So that's what this is going to be used, is to try and create that new court.
All right. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I would move to approve the application to the Community Corrections Annual Grant.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Dr. Lathrop. Discussion. Commissioner Wheelock.
As you are aware, I do represent this board on the Community Corrections Board. We are doing a lot of great things there. You know, we have about 60 people every day that are out on community corrections that otherwise would be housed in our jail.
Today we had 54 out of the Grand Traverse County Jail.
54? Okay. So, but the fact is that, you know, we are in a situation where our jail is overcrowded. We're boarding prisoners in Leelanau. We're boarding prisoners in Charlevoix on a regular basis. And we have another 50 to 60 people that we're being able to handle because of our community corrections programs. And, you know, we need to recognize the job that Sharice and her staff do, and with the cooperation of the judges, because it's absolutely essential. This program cannot be done without the cooperation of the judges. It just won't work. You know, one of the things that becomes concerning is if we get to a situation where we're going to regularly have early outs, there's no reason that a prisoner that's in our jail wants to sign on to a big lengthy set of criteria that they have to meet in testing and programming and community corrections if they can just sit on their butt in a couple weeks and they'll be released out into the community because we're overcrowded and we have to have an overcrowding situation. You know, we're going to hear from the sheriff. I'm really surprised it's not here tonight because the bottom line is he is out of money that we budgeted in the 2016 budget to fund boarding out. So,
Mr. Wheelock, he built that budget. We did not build that budget.
please remember that the 2016 budget that he asked for was like $40,000 for boarding out, and what we approved was 20.
No.
No.
Go check.
Well, let's not get it, we digress.
But the point is, we will be out of money for boarding prisoners very directly,
That will be
and we need to address that
Right
also.
now, we are talking about a grant
correction grant
application for
application.
community corrections, so I'm going to steer us back to that. Is there any further discussion, Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with the services that are provided. I mean, I think it's so important to get the people the help that they need. I mean, it's one thing to, you know, to commit a crime if you're a drug addict and get locked up, but that does nothing for the person. If you can get them the help that they need, I mean, you may be able to turn their lives around, you know. So I know it's...
And the family.
Yes, I mean, I've adopted 3 kids that were my niece's kids many years ago. They're now, 20, 19, and 17, and we adopted them when they were 2.5, 1, and 7 weeks old. And they were taken away by the state of Florida because of her and her husband at the time were abusing drugs. And she has still never gotten the help that she needs. I mean, when I was down in Florida visiting my mom, and she got arrested then while I was down there for drug possession. So without the help that they need, you know, in the bigger cities, they're just not getting that. So it's nice to see that here in a smaller city like this where they're taking the initiative. So I do.
I would like to add about that. There's a pot of funds available from the Department of Corrections that is available only through community corrections for residential treatment. We have NMRI. Do you know what NMRI is? Northern Michigan Regional Entity. That is through Medicaid and the state block grant. That's a separate pot. There's also a separate pot for parolees. So if they get out of prison, there's a pot for them to have substance abuse treatment. There isn't any funds available for those who don't go to prison for substance abuse treatment. And so through community corrections, we have available the money for the PRS program, which is what the facility is that we turned into that from the work release facility. We also put people in various facilities throughout the state. But as of today, we've spent almost $70,000 for treatment out of that pot through the state, and I asked them to calculate it for me, and they anticipated about $108,000 worth of substance abuse dollars. If there wasn't a community corrections here, those dollars are not available. It only comes through us. So it is the funding source of last resort, so they do have to use their Medicaid or their health insurance or whatever they have first. But this is for those who have no other resources to get substance abuse treatment, so it's very
All right.
important.
Commissioner Kropa?
Isn't it the drug court that we had in the past, and it went away with funding issues?
It's been called drug court, sobriety court,
Right.
and now it's recovery court. It's never been drug court.
It's never been drugs, it's always been alcohol.
It's always been truly a sobriety court from alcohol and drug abuse.
So this is a unique,
Yes, that's still
Okay.
here. The grant funding for that went away, but
Yes.
they still do that program, and it's a fabulous program. This is going to be run very similar to that, but when you are there is a very different treatment modality that you have to use for opiate addicts and methamphetamine addicts than you use for an alcoholic. They cannot be treated together. They cannot be in the same court hearings together.
Right.
There's just it is completely different paths that you take with them.
so this is a totally different court system that we haven't had here
Right.
before. What about juveniles? How would a drug court work for them, or would it not work for them?
They have a same type of court available in probate court for the juveniles. I honestly don't know how it works.
But we just don't have something like that available for adults?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I think their court probably deals with it all.
I
know.
think so.
I don't think they break it up into what type of thing the kids are using. It's all of it. This is very specific.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Therese, if you would, please, while you're right here, you just touched on it real briefly. We have a county-owned facility that used to be the work release to the jail.
Yes.
We got a report last week about how that's working and how it's open. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah,
Because
and
this
you guys
board,
are
I'm sure,
always
would have-
welcome if you want to go and take a tour of the facility anytime. Many of you came through when they had the open house, but I really encourage you to go there and see what they've turned it into. If you ever saw it when it was the work release facility, it's just completely different. They actually humanized it to make it a treatment location for folks. We have, I think, this morning, they have 12 beds available, and we have 12 people in there. So that's only in about 5 weeks that they've been really up and running. It's already at capacity. We have already reduced the many, many, many trips we make throughout the state to take people to different treatment places because we just walk them literally right out the back of the door of the jail, and we take them right over there. It's going to be a fabulous program for us.
And if they screw up, the trip is just as short going back to the jail.
It is a very, we've
Well,
only had
I-
one gentleman have to take that trip back so far.
I appreciate the fact that you worked not only with the prosecutor's office, but with the sheriff's department to get this up and running.
We have a very frank conversation with them as we're walking them from the jail over to that facility, and especially me. And it's you will not, you cannot, and you won't not do these things,
Yeah.
because if I get a complaint, then I have problems. So I will not have problems, you will have problems. So I have those, and I just tell them, if this is a privilege, you don't have to be here, you can be in the jail, and if you cause problems, we're not handling that. And the staff there are very, very, very good, and on top of that, I mean, they're really taking control of those people, and they're very, very busy while they're there. They're really only there all long enough to sleep most of the times. We are keeping them busy all day long in the things that they have to do, so.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, next on the agenda, Planning and Development, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority bylaws update, and I will ask Ms. Durenzi and our representative, Commissioner Kropa, to talk about this. Please.
Good evening. My name is Jean Durenzi, the Deputy Director of Planning and Development. And before you today is an amended bylaws from the Brownfield redevelopment, and this is the first amendment from the bylaws since the origination of the authority in 1997. The Brownfield Authority formed a subcommittee of the chairman, Mark Eckhoff, City Representative Ross Richardson, and County Board Commissioner Elisa Kropa. We reviewed the bylaws to really look at more of the structure that it is right now and to clean up some of the old language that was there. I highlighted in your packet some of the major changes, and one of the changes are the Board of Directors. It was 9 members, now it'll be 7 members. We eliminated the seat held by the county administrator and the seat held by the county treasurer. However, the county treasurer will be the treasurer of the authority. That was an important component for both the authority and the county, to have the county treasurer to maintain the treasury and the finances of the authority, particularly with the tax increment financing component. The ability to establish committees was very important as well. And the other important component that I didn't highlight but is important to identify is that any bonds that the Brownfield Authority would consider, or any indebtedness, will still require the approval of the County Board of Commissioners. That's a big highlight. Those are the major changes. And if you have any questions, your representative can answer them, or
Commissioner
myself.
Kropa, how was the discussion at the Brownfield?
It was very lively with Commissioner Richardson and myself. No, it went very well. But Jean forgot the most important change. What's the most important change in the bylaws?
Change the meetings from 8 to 8:30.
Yes.
The last Wednesday of the month.
This was a very important and popular choice. If any of you have to make a left onto Boardman for an 8 a.m. meeting, you're aware that 8th Street is not very conducive to much of anything, let alone turning left. So that was a big deal. No, we worked very hard on this. It was mostly just cleaning up from something that was antiquated, and we have condensed down our Brownfield board even more now, and I know Tom was in agreement with that, and Heidi was very pleased. Heidi and Tom were voting members of the Brownfield, yet weren't involved in the politics of it, and it was not only awkward and uncomfortable for them, but both of them sat through the meeting probably thinking of a million other things that they could be doing while we went back and forth. So it was unanimously approved, and
Well,
it was a good
I would
change.
entertain a motion.
I would make the motion to approve the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority bylaws update.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Kropa, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you, Jean. Old unfinished business, Parks and Rec. Request to amend ordinance. I tabled this from May 18th, as I anticipated. This would be a fairly lively discussion, and I felt that all 7 commissioners really did need to be present. So I will call on Commissioner Kropa to begin the discussion.
Well, I think that this represents a very long road that we have been on together since the tragedies of a few years back. And I think that I can speak for the Parks Commission when I say that we are all interested in moving towards less restriction. And this amendment to this ordinance is less restrictive than the current ordinance. So if you are somebody that sits on this board and are not in agreement with the restrictions on the swimming at Twin Lakes, I would ask you to approve this amendment because it lessens the restrictions on the swimming. To vote no on this amendment is to move backwards. And our Parks Board is not about moving backwards. We're about progress and moving forward and healing from the grieving members of our community. We don't represent just the people opposed to this ordinance. We represent the family members and the friends of those that were lost at our park. And to not sit on our Parks Board and pass judgment on us is a very hard thing for, I think, Commissioner Max Bauer and I to sit through, because as our director, Christine Erickson, knows, there has been a very long road to get to this point. And I want to thank Chris Morey, who is just an amazingly talented diver and swimmer. Many of you know him as a free diver, but I just received another message from him today thanking me for our Parks Board's dedication and compassion in this issue, and asking this Board of Commissioners to follow through and pass this amendment for less restrictive swimming at Twin Lakes as we move on now past hopefully an appropriate time for some peace for our grieving members of the community. So I would ask this board to join with the Parks Commission, who normally has their own rules done independent of the county board. But because this was an ordinance that was originated from the County Board of Commissioners, it requires an approval for the amendment. And I would ask you to help us move down the path of less restriction at Twin Lakes Park by passing this amendment and allowing our board to proceed and move on in the next year with hopefully less restrictive amendments as well.
So is that a motion to?
I will make
no,
the
wait
motion.
a minute. Wait.
What?
Is that a motion to put to bring this, take it off? What, put it back on?
From the table.
Take
I
it
will make a
from the table
motion
and put it back.
to take this ordinance
Thank
from the
you.
table
Thank
and
you.
place it back on the table.
I'll support that. Before we have a discussion on any motion, we have to move to take it off the table and bring it back. So, any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
I will then follow it with a motion to amend, to approve the ordinance amendment passed by the Parks Commission in regards to Twin Lakes swimming.
And I'll support and weigh in. I was not at the Parks Board meeting when this was discussed. However, and I'm kicking myself because I had photographs. As every member of the public knows, we had 3 drownings in 4 years, and they were 3 young men. And that really is the age where drownings occur. You know, young men just think they can do anything. They're adventurous. I normally would not support the restrictions that we have at Twin Lakes. However, this lake is different than any other lake. Normally when you walk into it, and I know people say I pontificate whatever about this, but I am passionate about this because I really do believe that those 3 drownings could have been prevented. And clearly what we have done to date has worked. There has not been a problem out at Twin Lakes since we restricted swimming into the designated swimming area. However, but my husband went out and I took the photographs, and you literally can be standing in 4 feet of water, take 1 step, and you're in 15 feet of water. You're over your head. My husband is 6 feet tall, and I'm just kicking myself for not bringing the picture. But anyway, this is not a normal lake. Normal lakes, when you go into East Bay, West Bay, Long Lake, wherever it is, you have a gradual decline. Not in North Twin Lake. In Twin Lake, as I said, you take 1 step and suddenly you're over your head. And I'm telling you, that is what happened to Owen. I have never forgotten that. I'm not ever going to forget that. However, that being said, this, I believe, is a balance. We have to have some way for our parks rangers to enforce the rules that we have in place. And wearing a wetsuit, and all wetsuits, by the way, are 1.5. They're all the same thickness. So that's just in the rules, because I know Commissioner Wheelock brought that up last time. But this is a way for swimmers to be identified by our park rangers and also to be aware of the rules that we have in place at the park. So, with that being said, I support this motion. I cannot imagine or envision what the families of those 3 young men went through. I just don't want it to happen again. I think this is a balance, and I know Commissioner Wheelock is going to weigh in, so go.
The loss of these 3 young lives were absolutely tragic accidents, but they were accidents. They had nothing to do with the swim beach at Twin Lakes. I would move for a friendly amendment to strike all swimming restrictions in Twin Lakes. I truly believe I can do that. I can ask for an amendment. We have to vote on the amendment before we vote on the motion, the ordinance.
You can't do that because I made the motion and I'm not going to.
But the point is, I believe Mr. Forsythe will tell me that I can ask for an amendment.
Certainly may.
For this.
Certainly may.
You know, this lake has been open for 50 years that the county's owned the property, well, more than that now. I'm trying to remember exactly when the first parcel came to the county. But for 50 years, people have been free to swim in this lake. We had 3 tragic accidents in here, and as far as I was concerned, the Parks Commission made a knee-jerk reaction to restrict it to a designated swimming area. 90% of the designated swimming area is lucky if it has 8 inches of water in it. It's a postage stamp. Most people, an adult can't even swim in the swim area for 90% of it. It's simply too shallow, you know. And as far as trying to create an ordinance that says, well, you have to wear a wetsuit, you have to register, and you have to sign a waiver, how are we going to police that? You know, there's just no possible way. I'm going to ask for an amendment to strike all swimming restrictions in Twin Lakes, and hopefully we can get a second and a discussion on that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. This is supposed to be a friendly amendment, so I need you to weigh in, Mr. Forsythe.
Well, he's made the motion, it's been seconded. Why don't you go ahead, unless there's any further discussion on the amendment, just vote on the amendment.
All right, we will vote on the amendment.
On the
On the amendment
to remove all
reduce
restrictions.
all restrictions of swimming in Twin Lakes.
And
That's
I
the
will
amendment.
ask,
No, I have a motion on the floor that was
The amendment was to your motion was to
Mr.
strike all
Forsythe
restrictions.
says that this is a friendly amendment.
Well, it's not really a friendly
I was
amendment,
going to
it's a
say,
motion
it's
to
an
amend.
amendment.
It takes
It's not
precedent,
friendly.
takes precedent over the main motion, so really procedurally, we should vote on.
All
On
right.
the amendment.
We are going to vote on the amendment. Bonnie, I would ask you to call roll.
We're voting on Sunny's amendment.
Sonny's
not my
amendment, not yours.
To eliminate
Sonny's.
you're voting on the amendment to reduce all swimming restrictions in North Twin Lakes.
Can we have
Dr.
some
Johnson.
discussion before?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, I originally supported that ban. I mean, I've thought long and hard since then, you know. Yes, no one's drowned since then. Cause and effect, I don't know. Maybe they're not partying as much or you know, it's more of a family place. I would support your motion if that was the only game in town, though. There's so many bodies of water around here that, you know, if you're not happy with those restrictions, there's a lot of other open areas to go to. You can even go to the swimming pool at the Civic Center, so I don't support that. So.
Bonnie, if you'll call a roll, please.
I think,
Oh, I'm sorry. Ron. Thank you.
The Twin Lakes Park ordinance, is that park all of the county property that's there?
No,
Or it's strictly just the,
no. It does not affect private landowners at all.
No, but there's 175 acres of Grand Traverse County parkland.
correct, there's
at Twin Lakes Park.
two-thirds of that water frontage is county-owned.
Correct.
One-third is privately owned.
Yes,
Then does it also go to South Twin Lake?
no.
The county has property on South Twin Lakes, but that's not part of the
That's
park?
correct, it's not.
I don't know.
So-
No,
the county
no.
owns-
We specified North Twin Lake.
Okay, because it just says Twin Lakes Park ordinance. I don't know what Twin Lakes Park is, if it's the part south.
It was specific to North Twin Lake. Dr. Lathrop.
Well, really what we are voting on is
The amendment, yes.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not going to comment on that so much as, I think this is a step in the right direction.
Your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think this is a step in the right direction, and I don't want to second-guess my Parks Board on this. They did a lot of thinking and talking about it a few times, so I'm going to vote against this friendly amendment, and then later on, you'll see how I vote. I'm going to vote for the amendment later, so.
I have a question, quick. Can I ask?
Commissioner Crawford.
Just in general, how available is a ranger for this waiver signing?
The ranger isn't part of the waiver signing. There's going to be a waiver located at the waterfront. We'll
Okay.
put it in plexiglass with the cover. I'm not exactly sure what it looks like yet. If this passes tonight, we'll get going with that tomorrow.
Okay.
And people, before they go in the water, they acknowledge that they understand the ordinance. They sign a waiver. It's similar to the Easling Pool waiver. that we had. We modeled it after that, where everybody would come in for drop-in swims and sign the same waiver, acknowledging that they understood the risk and things like that. Mr. Forsythe has already helped me prepare that waiver for our office. It's ready to go. So people would just go down there and sign and be on their honor.
Okay, and what's the theory behind requiring a wetsuit?
It helps them float better. It's not a true flotation device, but I understand it.
And we do have an ordinance in place where if you are swimming outside of the designated swim area, you can be fined. This is a way for park rangers to identify those who have signed the waiver and enforce the ordinance as it stands now.
Does it say full wetsuit, or, because I know there's wetsuits that are short sleeves and shorts, does that count?
It's
just trying to make it clear.
Commissioner Crawford, it actually is defined on page 61.
Okay.
And the actual amendment is not included in the resolution.
Oh, I got it here.
The resolution just speaks to the language that's included on page 61.
But I want to bring us back. Right now, we're not voting on...
No, I just wanted to ask those questions.
We are
just
voting
for-
on
thank you.
Commissioner Wheelock's amendment, which may or may not be friendly. We'll know in a minute.
Got it.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily plan to be.
All right.
He's making an unfriendly amendment.
Bonnie, would you call a roll, please?
Crawford?
No.
Klaus?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Croupa?
No.
Lathrop?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Max Bauer?
No. Motion fails. Next, we have Commissioner Croupa's amendment. Not amendment, her motion.
The resolution.
All right, the resolution. Discussion. Dr. Johnson.
I guess one of the issues I have with it is actually with the waiver. I mean, no pun intended, but how much water does that hold if someone signs a waiver and still gets in trouble out there? I mean, why are we even liable in that whole body of water?
You're not liable. Yeah, you.
So, I mean,
We're not.
You're
not.
You're not liable, so why do you have the regular
Well,
the rule
we
in the first place?
have a legal advisor here.
You wouldn't be liable. In fact, there's this Michigan Supreme Court case that came out about a year ago.
Microphone.
Sorry.
That's all right. I tell everyone.
The county should be entitled to governmental immunity. There's a Supreme Court case that came out a year ago, Beals versus Michigan, where there was a drowning at a state-run DNR pool. Where it's a pretty unfortunate case. There's a lifeguard on duty, didn't see it, and this poor individual died in the deep end of a pool. They sued, and the Supreme Court said, no, governmental immunities there should shield the public body from liability.
Commissioner Croupa.
I think I can answer the thinking on this, maybe. I mean, it's been a long journey, as you're aware of, because we care more about a human life than we do about the liability, per se. We don't want another person's child to die and us say, well, it's okay, we have government immunity. We wanted to stop people's children from dying in our park. And one of the ways we could do that was communication and publicity, for lack of a better term. So, and I will say, as the mother of a few graduated Traverse City West students, I am the mother of a son who is friends with victim number one, and I'm the mother of a daughter who is friends with victim number 3. And Traverse City West, that's just what they do. It was the official swimming hole after school. You know how hot it is in the school and on those late days, and I will tell you that it is no longer the official swimming hole, and that's really what we wanted to do. We wanted to mitigate our risks, certainly, but really we just wanted to prevent having to have one more mother come before our board begging us to close this park. And that was where the thought process came from. You can't force somebody to do anything, and that is not the role of the governments. But we can make it crystal clear that you are putting yourself at some risk if you're going in here. And so the idea was a face-to-face, like Christine and I talked about, a face-to-face where somebody looks at you and says, I acknowledge the risk here. That allowed us at County Parks to sleep at night, knowing that we did everything we could to let these people know exactly what was going on. And I will tell you that not only have we thankfully not had any deaths, we haven't had any near deaths in the park. And what you don't hear about You hear about the tragedies, but what you don't hear about are the countless number of people that Chaz McCall has pulled out of the lake. He is the homeowner on Twin Lake. Thankfully, a great guy, retired, so he's home, has a boat, and has gone out and saved so many people. Chaz is on board with this. The people who lost family and friends are on board with this, and it was a compromise. So that was what we were thinking. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. I mean, Christine and I went head-to-head, park meeting after park meeting on this, because I did not want these rules to restrict anything. I don't believe in government restricting things. But I just couldn't bear another mother coming before our board. And that's where we're coming from. And we're healing from this, and we're moving on as a community. And as you will notice, our business development team focused on Twin Lakes that year to bring a different face to that park. And that was with weddings and parties and bringing teams out there and people using the lodge. And we have been really successful at that. So our Parks Board does not view this at the end as the end of the road, but it is a compromise on the way there. And I really hope that this board supports that, because the community supports this. And we have done more due diligence. There's nothing knee-jerk about this. This was public hearing after public hearing that came to this conclusion.
You know, I want to add that one of the things that Chaz McCall, the property owner on Twin Lakes, told me is that the Parks Board has turned what was a party park into a family park. And I've got pictures of bonfires. I've got pictures of tire tracks where kids used to drive into the park and really destroy areas of it. Bonfires with beer bottles around them and, you know, mattresses around, and it just was not a family park. It is now. And we are taking one step at a time, very carefully, very judiciously, to keep it exactly as it is, a family park, but yet, you know, lighten the restrictions carefully. Keep in mind that what we have done to date, whether you agree with it or not, in principle, it's worked. Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, obviously, I'm not supporting this, but it's, you know, neither here nor there about that part. There is another swim beach at that park. The North End Beach has been there since I was a teenager, and we're making no efforts whatsoever to develop that. If we believe that the beach that's right in front of the lodge is so dangerous, why aren't we doing something to develop the other swim beach?
Go, Christine.
Commissioner Wheelock, our business development team, and our commission last year asked me to look into having an engineering firm come in and discuss moving the beach. So they came up with some preliminary plans and a quote for making that happen down the way from the beach where it is now. And what direction is that? Down to the right of where the beach is right now.
North.
My question is, very simply, all we have to do is to allow a trail to develop, and I'm sure that if you designate another swimming area on the north end of that lake, that trail will develop to a swimming beach that's adequate, because the swimming beach that you have is simply insufficient.
Well, keep in mind, I was told, and I don't know how true this is, so I hesitate to repeat it, but what the heck. I was told that the people who designed the beach that we have now are the same people who designed the splash pad at Clinch Park.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Certainly.
My understanding was the problem with that current beach is that it's just a real quick drop-off. Is that southern one that Commissioner Wheelock talks about?
The north.
Is that more of an even-out
yes.
area?
It's significantly wider. It's much more gradual going out, and that has been designated for years by the Parks Commission as a non-approved swimming area. If we're not going to have an adequate swimming area where it's at, my suggestion is we at least look at developing an adequate swimming area at the other beach.
Absolutely will.
It's on our strategic plan that we just wrote last week, and we'll go to the Parks Board for full approval the third Thursday of June.
We absolutely will. That having been said, any additional discussion, and I will call for a roll. Bonnie?
Klaus?
No.
Wheelock?
No.
Kropa?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes, motion carries. We have no new business?
Madam Chairman, I wanted to ask, and it can come here, it can come under notices, which commissioners will be attending the MERS meeting on Friday?
Can we get, well, I guess we can cover that under new business. I was going to do
It's kind of new
it,
business. It came in on our email here in the last couple of days.
I was going to do it under commissioner reports, but I can do it under new business. As it stands right now, there is a MERS meeting. It is not a public meeting, and Commissioner Crawford, Commissioner Kropa, and myself will be attending.
Well, I asked because I received a phone call from Chairman Max Bauer this afternoon asking me not to attend this meeting.
Yes, I did.
And my concern about it, and after I get off the phone...
If you would like to attend in my place, you're certainly welcome
After I
to.
got off the phone, my thoughts came to the idea that MERS has made a lot of statements in the last little while about how they outlined structural changes Grand Traverse County had to make. And I've sat here a long time, and I've never heard MERS said in any meeting and describe those structural changes. You know, it's real easy for them to make those kind of comments when there's no one in the room to refute those comments.
Would you like to attend in my place? Because I certainly will, I will
I
go
would
with that.
ask to attend this meeting.
Fine.
I simply believe that MERS has a long history of sitting back and saying, you know, we told you to do this and that. I want you to show me the documentation where you've outlined these things. You know, they have outlined actuarials that tell me they're going to get me 7.75 or 8% return on my money, and they in fact got 2.6. You know, that they've put in writing. But they're all talking about how they've told the Grand Traverse County, you have to make the changes in your program, but we don't have any documentation to that. And they've never come before this board at any meeting that I've been to and say, you need to do steps this, and this. And I've sat here for 18 years, and I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have forgotten something like that.
I'm quite confident. The reason I asked to restrict attendance was because of the fact that this is not going to be a public meeting. But I'm absolutely confident that Commissioner Kropa and Commissioner Crawford can carry whatever.
I'm going to step back and have you go. Sunny can take my place. It is not appropriate for the chairman of the board to not be at this meeting, so.
Well, I'm certainly willing to step back.
No, I will step back. You know, it's going to be 75 and sunny on Friday. I'm good with not going to the 1 o'clock meeting.
Wait a second. Hold on.
And Sunny is welcome to have my place.
75 and sunny?
Wait a minute.
No, I also attended a MERS meeting. I've had my one-on-one time with them. I am more than happy to step back on this one.
All right, let's decide right now then, the 3 commissioners who are attending.
I would still like to attend if I could, please.
And Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right, and
I'll go to the beach.
All right, and it will be me. Okay? We're good.
You know, as I thought about this after you called this afternoon, it's not just the comments, but I'm pretty confident that even at the meeting on Friday, there's not going to be one person in attendance that can talk about the way MERS came in here in 2000 and 2001 and sold us on closing
You want to
our defined
bet?
benefits. Hopefully there will be.
Sounds like there's going to be at least 2.
You want to bet?
I hope so. Because they were absolutely here, you know, pounding on us to make the changes.
I
that we
would
made to this
note
requirement.
for anybody who, and, you know, anyone who's, and there are members of the public who do actually watch us, there will be an open meeting with all 7 commissioners addressing the MERS and the pension problem. But this Friday, it's going to be more of an administrative question and answer period.
The only other thing I had wanted to ask, because as the situation with OMA came up, as the email went on, would we be able to have a meeting that we post but go into closed session? I know that, and there
No.
goes Chris.
No.
I know that there's very few things that you can discuss in closed session, purchase of property, open litigation, and of course, a memo from your prosecutor. A legal memo is an approved reason to go into closed session, because there really is a need for the board to be able to have an unencumbered one-on-one with MERS And at this point, we could have 3 go with them, 3 go with them, and then one other person.
No, we're not doing any kind
Yeah,
of
so it
round
seems-
robin. We're not
it
doing
seems-
that.
Exactly.
No, we're
So
not.
it seems like it would be more appropriate to just have a closed session under a legal memo.
Yeah, Chris is right. We couldn't do that.
No. And we're not going to.
I think Tom wants it.
Mr. Menzel?
I had sent an email out inviting everybody, so I was a culprit in that, mainly because I want everybody to be well-informed on this issue, as well-informed as you can be. One-on-ones are helpful. Chris said that we might be in violation of the Open Meeting Act by doing that, and so we had to make a decision. Either we do 3 or we do everybody, and so the decision was made late this afternoon that we would just have 3 then. But I would be more than happy to have you give me any questions or anything that you would like me to ask, and then I would put it in a memo, the answers I get for that. So if there, or other commissioners who will be there, of course, would do the same thing. But if there are any questions that the 4 who are not going would like me to ask, I would be more than happy to do that. So please feel free to give me questions, or Commissioners Chairman Max Bauer or Commissioner Crawford, Commissioner Wheelock, I'm sure would be happy to ask any questions as well. But if you have specific areas of concern, specific areas you'd like us to address or ask, you've been sent the full report, so it's there. If you have anything that you'd like me to find out or opinions on, please let me know. I'll be happy to ask it.
All right. We're good then? Yep. We are good. This is our second opportunity for public comment. Please.
Good evening. I'm Tom Cooper, and I had some questions regarding community mental health. About a year ago, the commission was to discuss withdrawing from the region's Community Health Authority. And for 6 years, you've been paying $692,000 to community mental health. And the inmates at the Grand Traverse County Correctional Facility have not been getting the medication or the counseling that they need over there. I was wondering if you're going to play do-si-do with the community mental health for another 6 years, or if something's going to be done. Because I'm sure Tom Bensley could use the $692,000 and hire a nurse to come in there and give the inmates the medication that they need and the counseling that they need. So if you could discuss this a little bit among yourselves and see what's going to happen, I would appreciate it. Thank you
very much. Anyone else? All right. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Crawford.
I have a meeting on Friday about just that topic, so I can come back in 2 weeks and comment on that.
Please.
Okay. Also, I attended the GFOA conference last week, and I'll have a written report for you, hopefully in the packet in our meeting in 2 weeks.
Wonderful, thank you.
On the different sessions and things that I went to. A lot of them revolved around pensions, accurate reporting, bonding. We're not the only ones in this situation.
No, we're not.
Obviously, and so it's good to hear what others are doing, and I'll have some of that information for you. Some good sessions on transparency, accurate reporting, lots of different things. As usual, there was a couple I went to that I think we all went to some last year that, like, that wasn't really what I thought it was going to be about, but still good information. And so I will have something written up, hopefully, in 2 weeks for you on that. I also picked up this. It's called Interpreting Local Government Financial Statements and Elected Officials Guide. We all know generally how to look at financial statements. This just kind of points out, written by the GFOA, specific things to look for. And I have found it to be pretty informative if anybody would like to borrow that from me. Unfortunately, I only had one, so, and that was all I had.
Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, you probably saw an email. I was down in Florida. I did take the opportunity. I was reading the paper in a local community by my mother's house, Fernandina Beach. There was an article in the paper about their unfunded pension and how they actually got 9% return last year. And the article was pretty good and in-depth. Take note, Matt. And we actually sent an email then to the HR director because she was quoted in the paper. So she sat down with me for an hour and talked about what they have done. You know, they were pretty forward-thinking, if you will. Like in the 80s, they actually started having the employees pay more towards their pension. They didn't pay anything up till then. So they pay anywhere from like 5 to 7%. The multipliers. Their program is still open. They don't pay any health care for retirees. But they're able to continue it because they were forward-thinking. The other thing they do is the pension board. They have a pension board that has total control over what they invest in. I know that's mind-boggling to people that are in MERS.
No, it's done, well, it's mind-boggling to MERS, but...
And the reason they had a return, the 9% return when the market was down was they decided, this team that got together and is represented by everywhere from union membership to professionals in the field, they said they went into real estate. And if you look at that article, it breaks down what percentage of where they're at, but that got them their return. But when you're able to have that control and be proactive, it's amazing, you know, what you can do. I mean,
but I like
we could have a stinking savings account and get better return than we're getting right now.
Amen.
And the other part of that, I know this is ranting, but even if we were 100%, I'd be appalled at the return MERS is getting right now. That is not a responsible way to handle money.
The market is at an all-time high.
So if you haven't got a chance to read it, please read it because it was very interesting.
I did read it, and what I appreciated about it, one of the things, the many things, is that you don't have to FOIA the information.
No.
It's volunteered.
I think Bob should go to the Friday meeting and bring your stuff from Florida.
I can go to the beach, Bob.
The other
Just let him know. Somebody got 9%.
There you go. The other thing,
Well, it's not
two
just
more
them.
items.
There are others. The pension boards do do a much better job than MERS. Any time you look at a pension
Just
board.
about anybody does a better job.
Well, amen. Yes, I was going to stop that. All
Also,
right.
while I was down there taking care of my mom, I snuck out for another day because as I've mentioned many times, I'm on the board of directors or board of managers for the veterans facilities for Grand Rapids and Jacobetti. So there was a state veterans home in St. Augustine that was built in 2010. Hard to imagine new things are being built. And it was just, again, I was just amazed at how friendly everybody was down there to let me have the time to talk to them and tour the facility. So that was very nice. Tagging on to the veterans board that I'm on, for the next 8 weeks, I'm co-chair of a modernization committee where we're looking at bringing basically state veterans health care into the 21st century, if you will. So what does that entail? This group's going to hopefully decide and then bring to the governor.
You're going to skip the 20th century altogether?
Yes, we're going forward. So. Well, the home started in 1886, so
That's what I said. We're
we've
going
got
to skip the 20th century
Yes.
altogether because they haven't updated anything in a long time.
With government, it'll take that long. So, so they're in Lansing every Wednesday. The meetings from 4 to 6. Some of them I can do phone conference. I was on the phone today, so if I sounded rude to anybody, I was on the phone still, listening to my ears. There are 2 meetings that I definitely need to go to on June 8th and June 15th. So I will not be here on the 15th unless you can figure out a way for me to do it remotely. I could still sit up in Lansing and Skype in or something. I don't know if we have that capability. So just give you a heads up that if I sound like I'm real busy the next 2 months, I really am.
That's why.
On top of trying to campaign and everything else. So, one final thing, back to veterans again. I know, yapping around. Too much coffee. Tomorrow night, there is the National Writer Series, has Brian Kastner coming in. He wrote a book. It is called All the Ways We Live and Die, and it's actually about Matthew Schwartz, who was a soldier here that lost his life on his mission. He was an explosive ordnance person. Brian was friends with them, wrote a book about how they were trying to track who designed the bomb. It's a very good book, and I encourage you tomorrow, if you get a chance to go to the writer series, to listen to him talk about that. And I will shut up.
It's good information.
All right. Commissioner Gropa.
Brownfield. I wanted to update you on Brownfield. Last Wednesday, we met, and we have a very unusual project going on, and I just wanted to update this board in case they hear about it. As many of you know, the Hotel Indigo opened, which is probably the longest ever construction for a Hotel Indigo in their chain's history, I believe. And the reason why the Hotel Indigo took so long, as many of you know, is that unknowingly, when they began the process of digging under it, they found a large cyanide plume, and it was headed towards our bay. So we're very thankful to the people at the Hotel Indigo for going above and beyond in the remediation. And of course, in the process, we lost one developer and a bankruptcy, and that's how it ended up. But long story short, the Hotel Indigo is part of a 23-parcel plan called the Traverse City Brownfield Plan. It was done back in the 90s. And the Hotel Indigo was so contaminated that it used up every single dollar of remediation dollars that was in that entire plan for 23 parcels. It's really quite amazing. So as we continue to develop these other parcels, and you know it as the Warehouse District, we call it the Traverse City Brownfield Plan, you will see that dollars are added in for remediation because we have used up all of our dollars. And Gene has done a lot with different grants and that sort of thing. It's made it sort of complicated. But one of the problems, I have a lot of problems with Brownfield, but one of the problems I have is the scope is too hard to grasp. You don't know if the project right next door to it is going to be another Indigo with a giant cyanide plume that you weren't expecting, and you're into it for millions of dollars of remediation. So when an additional $600,000 was asked to be approved by our Brownfield Board for cleanup in the Traverse City Brownfield Plan, I had a lot of problems with that. $470,000-ish of it was a loan, and the rest was a grant. And I was not real excited about any of that because it just seems to me like that particular portion of Traverse City is so contaminated that it is it's just a well. You're just going to keep throwing your dollars in it, and are we really ever making any difference? So we did end up approving that, and I just wanted to let you know that those dollars are now being put to work, and I wanted to let you know what we're doing with them. There will be monitoring wells put in and around the Warehouse District. They will be around the Candle Factory, that area, the Beta headquarters, the fishing weir area, the Hotel Indigo, and they will go across the street to the bay as well, to our volleyball courts and where the Smith Barney building used to be and in the open space. Those monitoring wells will help us know where this plume is going, how fast it's moving, and how close it is to the bay. And this monitoring well, we should have the timeline, according to the environmental engineers, was just within a few months, we will know what's going on with that plume, and did the capping of the Hotel Indigo help it, hurt it, change the direction, what did it do? So that's the first thing that we have going on. And the part of this money that is not a loan, that is a grant, is from the USDA, and it is a tree grant. And what it is for the purchase and planting of trees around these monitoring well areas that are specially made, not special, well, they're made by nature to absorb cyanide in their roots. And it is sort of a unique way of looking at containing this problem. I am very skeptical of this. However, many experts seem to think, and has been used in many communities, to help remediate the spread of cyanide. So we are going to be going through the process initially with the wells, and then because that property is City of Traverse City, they will be going through the public hearing process of what kind of trees and where they get planted and how that looks, and Brownfield Authority is hands-off on that. But I just wanted to let everybody know that with the opening of the Indigo, we are nowhere near completion on the cleanup of the cyanide in that area, and we have hopes for that. Also, I wanted to say happy birthday to Bob Cooney. He's not here, but I'm glad. I hope he's not home watching this on his birthday. Yes, happy birthday, Bob. Thanks for being our prosecutor.
Anyone else? Commissioner Wheelock.
Just touch base just a little bit. I spoke with Captain Ritter and the sheriff last week after the Community Corrections Board. I'd spoken to them before, and then we had quite a discussion at the Community Corrections Board about Northern Lakes Community Mental Health's decision to no longer provide services within our jail.
And I know that just is,
It's
warms your heart.
It just warms my heart.
I know,
to say
it
the
always
least.
has.
And it's been a discussion that I've had with this board for a long, long time.
And that's what we're
that
talking about on
there's
Friday.
There's just
Yep.
a terribly inadequate amount of service being provided. You know, at least 50 to 60% of the people that are in our jail have mental health issues and depression issues. With this new decision, and I know that, you know, I'm preaching a little bit to the choir because you've all heard me talk about this before. You know, 15 years ago, we had 80 man-hours a week of mental health services in our jail. By the time Ann Boss retired, we were down to about 12. And now they're not going to replace her to come back into the jail.
Yes, they are.
Last week at one day, we had 38 registered Northern Lakes Community Health clients housed in the Grand Traverse County Jail and could not get Community Mental Health to come in and do a patient assessment.
Commissioner Crawford, you are our representative on that board, and I thank you for your service in that area. Community Mental Health has always agreed to at least minimally treat their own clients.
Yes.
And now they're
I
saying
am-
no more.
Actually, what they said, what I was told was they have this particular person that was doing the screenings, and that person retired, and due to budget constraints and all kinds of
But
things. they
that's
said that-
not
and I
the
said,
deal.
That's not our problem, really.
No, it's
I mean,
not.
if
That wasn't the deal.
You're supposed to provide that, and if that person retired, replace that person, we still require that service. I was not aware until right now that they're not even serving their own clients.
They're not.
That's unacceptable.
only thing that they-
Completely unacceptable,
as
because
of
they have
right
always
now-
maintained that they are going to serve their own clients at least.
As of right now, it's my understanding, the only time a community health, mental health individual will come to the jail is if we have a designated suicide watch for a particular prisoner. That is simply unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, I
We
agree.
pay $862,000 a year to Northern Lake Community Mental Health. Plus, we pay an additional $75,000 a year. What's?
682.
$682, I'm sorry, $682,000, all right. But plus we pay another $75,000 to a contract that we have with Dr. Conlon to provide psychiatric services within our jail. As you may or may not remember, as of September,
That's
Dr.
gonna be
Conlon
gone.
is leaving for at least a year on a hiatus.
Yes.
And as at this point, we do not have anyone else in line to do any mental health services in our jail. We have spoken with the healthcare provider that we are under contract with within the jail, but, you know, that's going to come with a price tag too if we do nothing but assessments. But as of today, we are not getting services for assessments, and we are not getting medications to even the registered clients of Great Lakes Northern Lakes Community Mental Health. That is simply inadequate as far as I'm concerned.
Isn't that a breach of contract?
At a certain point in time, I
Yes,
think
it
we're
is.
going to have to sue these people.
Or we
Let's
just,
see
or
what
we
they
just
say on
simply,
Friday.
you know, this is not.
Really?
This
I mean,
is,
In their wheels, so.
we have a contract in place for Northern Lakes Community Mental Health to provide mental health services in our community. It's an ongoing contract, it automatically renews. But I think Mr. Forsythe will tell you, there is no such thing as a permanent contract.
No, there isn't. At a certain point in time,
Maybe it's time that we serve notice to Northern Lakes Community Mental
we're
Health.
done.
That we are going to figure out how to provide mental health services in our community. We provided them in this community at Grand Traverse County Mental Health prior to the creation of Great Lakes Community Mental Health, and then it evolved into Northern Lakes Community Mental Health. We provided mental health services as a county function prior to the enactment of this regionalization, and it's
not
time for us
working.
to talk about it because it's not working.
Didn't we talk about this a year ago?
We
though?
did, but in community mental health
And we couldn't
said,
serve notice, could we, Chris? There was something going on.
I thought it was wasn't that a legislative act?
Yeah, there was
There's
something.
an
that we
enabling
So
couldn't-
we would
agreement.
have to have,
but we can leave.
because I mean, I was ready to just wash our hands of them and figure something else out.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you can leave. I did put together a memo to the board about a year ago I was trying to pull it right now, but unfortunately I can't access the county
this
server.
afternoon, I intended to mention it to you. And
Yeah.
Can't access
I was doing
the
a couple
county
other
server.
things at the same time.
No, trying to get on our K drive, but I can't get on it to pull up my memo. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I did prepare the memo. I can't tell exactly what I said, but it is.
I remember.
Yeah.
But there is a
brick
process and
wall
we
that
can
hit
leave.
Because we had given.
But I'll tell you, what we're getting right now isn't working. It's not working.
And the enabling that documentation, is very clear that with the creation of Great Lakes Community Mental Health, which evolved into Northern Lakes Community Health, it specifically states these participating counties will form the regional authority.
Yeah.
That authority will provide services within the confines of the jail.
It does say that.
And-
Now, they did
and-
restrict it to only their clients, but the fact that we've got 38 in there,
Yeah,
that they're
that's
not,
it.
that they
That's
refuse
new
to.
to me today,
Leelanau and Bel Air
that they
cannot
aren't
get
even
any
serving their
service
clients.
whatsoever. And they're not getting any service whatsoever.
Well,
in their jail
we're
and
paying
haven't
for
a long
nothing.
time.
We're getting nothing.
Well, they're going to tell you that you're still getting services because they're providing services to so
To the
many thousand
community
people in our
outside of the
community.
jails. That was the argument.
But they simply are not meeting our critical needs in the jail. And that's been my discussion for a long, long
But they were
time.
holding the jail as leverage over the needs of the community, the non-incarcerated citizens of
Right.
our community needing community mental health. And obviously, there's more of them than are the incarcerated, and that tied our hands in the discussions because
Well,
we don't want to harm.
There's also a ruling which, they're all going to stand back and point to. There was a ruling by Mike Kelly, is the Attorney General, that said mental health services within the confines of a county-owned facility are the responsibility of the county.
Yeah.
He was very adequate, he was very point blank. We will continue, any services, mental health services that are provided in the county jail are the responsibility of the county. But the enabling documents that created the mental health authority very specifically assign that responsibility to them.
I'm on your
And
page.
all I can ask is that we, do a little bit more research and then try to get the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Board in here as quickly as possible.
All right.
Tom wants it.
Got it.
Tom,
What we will do to help you out in your concerns is, we'll take a look at it. Commissioner Wheelock is correct. We have to provide that service as a county. We've contracted out. If we're not happy with the way the contract's being implemented, we will have to take a look at that and see if we can improve that service delivery, or we'd have to take it over at some level ourselves, and we need to determine what it would cost. We need to, currently we're paying $682,000. We don't think we're getting a good return on our invested dollars, and we need to find out what our options are. So Jen and I'll sit down, take a look at that, and come up with possible solutions or scenarios for you to consider.
and in the meantime, Commissioner Crawford is meeting with them Friday, she said.
Yes.
Shortly after we started contracting with Dr. Conlon, we made the decision to hold that $75,000 from our payment from Northern Lakes Community Mental Health, and they all went pretty ballistic along the edges, but.
I just think we need to remember, though,
No,
this
we ended
isn't
up paying
just
it.
the jail in the CMH contract. We're talking about community mental health services for our citizens.
Yeah, I understand that, but if they're cutting,
There has got to be a way to delineate them, though, and not in the current contract,
no,
clearly.
I want to see what services we're getting, because
But
right now, I'm not seeing
It
any.
takes time to
We're
come
not
up with
getting
our
any.
own way to provide services for the jail, and in that time, we could have citizens that rely on community mental health that aren't going to get the things that they need. And that was the problem with the withdrawal that we came up in the board. I remember having the discussion, they're going to be left hanging, and many more citizens receive CMH services out of jail than in jail, and we don't want them to go in jail, so we want them to get their CMH services out of jail. And they could be left as cast aside while we argue about just one small component, which is the jail services.
The services to the jail are actually a very tiny
They're
part.
very tiny.
Of what Northern
Well,
Lakes does.
they're
So
tiny because they're zero.
Well,
If Commissioner Crawford would be kind enough to share with myself or Jen or both of us the outcome of your meeting on Friday.
Absolutely.
Then we can determine what some good action steps should be to clarify the relationship and get back to that.
and I will make it very clear to them on Friday, your feelings. Absolutely.
I've never been bashful when we had
No,
this
you haven't. They
discussion
know,
before, and
but I'll say it
They're
again
very
for you.
familiar with my
They know.
my
Bashful.
opinion about
Yes,
this.
I will make sure.
Well, not very often.
We had a contractual agreement with them when I was at Beta, and we had to renegotiate that to make it more realistic, and went through that process with them. And I found them agreeable. I found that they just weren't aware of a number of things, and once we made them aware of some things, we were able to negotiate a more fair and equitable and performance-based agreement. I think we probably can do the same thing here.
All righty. Any other commissioner reports? Notices? Dr. Johnson?
I welcomed a new grandson last Friday.
Yes, he's very cute.
Congratulations.
My wife was very excited because now
She has some
she has
other
one
place to go
close.
visit?
The other 3 live in Tampa, so she now has one.
From Grandpa Bob.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
At least you're not like me. If my wife could find me a third job, she could go see the grandkids more often.
Oh, what's going to happen?
I have one.
It's going to happen.
Just one slight change. We were going to meet with MERS on the 20th, and they've changed that to July 21st at 8:30 in the morning, and have been gracious enough to give us 20 minutes.
Is that in Lansing or Grand Rapids?
That's in Lansing, yeah.
Yeah, we get a whopping 20 minutes.
Do you have to bow and kiss the ring too when you walk in?
Probably.
Is this like a annual board of directors meeting?
Well, I believe they have a board, whatever schedule they're on, Commissioner, they have a meeting on Wednesday, and I don't know if they're holding over to talk to us or what the case may be, but they've asked us to meet with them on the 21st of July at 8:30, and have said that we have 20 minutes to make our presentation.
So, going in, you got to know this is going to go really well, right?
They're really open for a discussion.
Aren't they, though? All righty.
It does seem somewhat short for an item that is such of serious nature for this county.
Wouldn't it be in their best interest for Grand Traverse County to do better? Because on the overall picture, we really drag them down on their, don't you think? They would be more proactive?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
There would be more, I'm not sure.
Well, it's just, there's 66 counties in MERS, and we're always number 66.
Yeah.
Like, either they would want to drop us, in the law of averages, we're screwing things up.
No, we aren't that well funded, so we aren't impacting it. The problem is that they have 800 entities that they're managing. We're getting the same strategy, for example, as Flint.
Right.
And we need to have more time to negotiate with them to say that we have our own actuarial tables, our own employee base for all of these kinds of issues, and we need to have a more tailored, customized investment strategy, because you can't put us in this big bowl. Because
Hence a pension board.
I would note, Flint is at 47%, and we're now at 45%.
I'm hoping that we might be able to have maybe 21 and 22 minutes to discuss it. That might be helpful.
If they would put us back to a 20-year amortization instead of a 13, we'd be somewhere between 75 and 80%.
We no longer are at 13.
Their actuarials
They've moved us
are
down to
incorrect.
12.
We're at
now.
12.
We're down to 12
They're
now.
just flat wrong. You can take a look at every single municipality, and you have to tell me why none of them are 100% funded. And I can tell you why. It's because their actuarials are wrong. And they're wrong big time. And they are admitting in the 2015 report that their actuarials are wrong, because suddenly they have said, oh, we've adjusted our actuarials.
And I will say the 2015 is the first report that I've ever read from MERS where it says the recommended minimum payment. That phrase
we
has
can go on.
never been in their
We can talk about
actuarial
this
annual report
for another half an
This is why
hour.
you're only getting 20 minutes. They've listened to one of our board.
All right. I'm cutting us off. Any additional notices on any other topic?
I was going to add one more thing. That email that I infoed you on when I was going to the HR director, if you scroll down, has the company they invest with. And then they also have a broker, too, that they use. So that's a national firm.
It was a
Well, I want you to know that in some areas of the country, it is required to go out every 5 years for an RFP for your investment strategy. Not in Michigan. We all stay with MERS. Heaven only knows why. Now that I have pontificated, do we have a need for a closed session? Then we are adjourned.
Tried to make us have one.